Weight loss solutions are not one size fits all. Hers makes it simpler to get started and stick with a weight loss plan, backed by expert-guided online care that puts your weight loss goals first. These include oral medication kits or compounded GLP-1 injections. Through Hers, pricing for oral medication kits start at just $69 a month for a 10-month plan when paid in full upfront. No hidden fees, no membership fees. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. Hers brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatment plans that put your goals first. Reach your weight loss goals with help through Hers. Get started at forhers.com/4u to access affordable, doctor-trusted weight loss plans. That's forhers.com/4u, forhers.com/4u. Paid for by Hims and Hers Health. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions at forhers.com apply.
Lowe's knows how to get you ready for holiday hosting with up to 35% off select home decor. And get up to 35% off select major appliances. Plus, members get free delivery, haul away, basic installation, parts, and a 2-year Lowe's protection plan when you spend $2,500 or more on select LG major appliances. Valid through 10/1. Member offer excludes Massachusetts, Maryland, Wisconsin, New Jersey, and Florida. Installed by independent contractors. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for more details.
Welcome back to another episode of the Forza Juventus podcast. I'm your host, Enrique Ortega. Joined with me, Anthony from Pimo Calcio. We have a jam-packed episode today, but we have first amazing guest joining us. Berto, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, amazing guest. Awesome. Thank you for that. I'm Alberto from the AJC. Founded that like back in 2018, started off just audio and then obviously moved to YouTube and just doing the same thing, having fun, chatting about La Vecchia Signora. And I needed something from 2018 when I got back home from the first trip over to watch them. And that's how the pod kind of started because I've been a lifelong fan because of my father. And then decided I needed more. I need to be around it after being over there in Turin. And that's kind of the rest is history. Now we're rocking it with the AJC, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me on the show. I look forward to this chat.
Yeah, thank you again for joining us. And like I said, this is going to be a jam-packed episode. Our most recent episode was with Anthony and Alex Dono, who was the Inter fan. And when we started that episode, or by the time we finished it, we had made our predictions. I said that it was going to be a 1-0 game. Anthony said, I think you were going to say it was a draw, right?
I think it was 1-1.
Yeah, and I think Alex agreed with you. So I think we all kind of didn't expect what happened. So, Anthony, let's just go with you to start. Inter Juve, the game ended 4-3. First thoughts on the game. How are you feeling about it? I know it's a week later, a couple weeks later, but what are your thoughts so far?
Well, at the end of the day, you got to get the result. But that's not the way I like to get it. And one of the reasons I love Juventus so much, why I became a family club, was because they were Italian. They played defense. They were unapologetically Italian. That's not what I saw in that match. And it was an absolute disaster in defending. And I was frustrated the whole time. I'm glad we pulled it out in the end, and that's what matters. But my brother and I did a whole thing on that game. We broke it down. It was dirty.
Berto, over to you.
First off, I hope you guys let Alex Dono know he's never too old to switch sides, all right? Because you got to leave Inter Merda. We all make mistakes, Alex. It's all good. Love you, brother, but it's never too late. That game was insane. It was insane. I mean, as a derby d'Italia, you always want to win it, and you don't give a shit how, right? It's just get the result. You deal with the rest after in the aftermath, right? But when you do break it down, I mean, it felt like if we wanted to, they were suspect and we could have maybe stepped on their throat, but it felt very, very safe, very, very cautious. And I didn't like the goals that we allowed. I mean, credit to Çalhanoğlu, but I mean, we allowed that space. It was almost too much respect, right? So yeah, you love getting the result, but playing with fire. And I just didn't like how much respect and how much space we gave. I wanted to see us just have more grit to us and push. And I feel like we could have won that, honestly, maybe 3-1 if we played it in a different manner. It felt reactionary from Tudor, which is also something else I'm going to watch on his part. But in the end, you get the result. And at that moment, it's like, okay, we've got some signs on some things we got to work on, but you're taking that result all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. But yeah, for the most part, you wanted to do a few things better. And I mean, it was the first sign that the midfield might not be holding up in that two-man pivot, right? So
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think as a neutral, and which none of us are, it was an exciting game. It was no stress, just pure entertainment, goal after goal. But as fans, there was, I think, what you mentioned, the defense. I mean, allowing Çalhanoğlu that much space. We know from his time in Serie A, he shoots outside the box. He has a weapon from range. He can bang goals outside the box. What is what he did. He can do the first touch. He has the power in his foot. And so for us to give him the respect of, you're on top of the box, which has been an issue, and we'll get into it later as well. But we've been allowing right on the top of the box. I mean, too much space. Çalhanoğlu, one of the best to shoot from outside the box, just free on those shots. The second one he had, fair enough. It was off a volley. Not much you can do. However, he was free. That's what we don't want to see.
Barella too, because
absolutely.
Barella sent a warning shot early in that match, and it was like, guys, you can't have that space. They've got shooters. They've got shooters right across their front. Because even Mkhitaryan can hit them too, but like you just can't allow that. So I just didn't like the collapse for sure.
I think my first thought of the game was I had a feeling we were in for something special when Lloyd Kelly opened the scoring. I think that was probably the biggest. Exactly. It was one of those where it was of anybody to score in this team. Anybody. That was the last person we expected until the last goal, of course, from Adzic. But to open the game, it was definitely, I think, something Lloyd Kelly needed himself. I mean, he's been under some flack since the moment he's come to his team. I mean, it's hard not to when Dean Huijsen was the guy we had and got rid of. But Lloyd Kelly's here now. He's actually done pretty well so far this season, and opening his scoring account in the Derby was something definitely special to see. And yeah, for sure. Anthony, I kind of want to hear your thoughts on the defense. That is your biggest problem. Ever since we started this, knowing you as well, the defense is the most important thing to you. So in that intergame, let me hear your breakdown of the defense.
Well, I think it's Locatelli, his disastrous performance for Italy carried over with us. He gets way too deep. He starts playing behind his center backs. He's like a backwards Forrest Gump. He just runs into his own net until the play's dead. He needs to be out there. We need to have some kind of shape to our defense. We don't. But I mean, I'm glad Kelly got a goal. That's great. He's still a terrible defender, totally messy. And Thuram, for as much credit as he gets, I think he's a positional disaster, and he's very poor defensively. So he has the ability to do it. Where's the coaching? If he was under a different coach, he'd be in a much better spot. And that's, I think, the main problem here is, I think Tudor's a buddy. I think he's friendly to the guys. I think he's giving them good speeches and saying things that are fine, but I want to see an actual coach that's getting the most out of these guys, and I don't really think he is.
Berto, your response to that?
Yeah, I mean, you've got a little bit of a mix of everything. You've got some player performance problems there, but you also have a structural issue. And I can't even really compare the Azzurri disaster to Juve. It's on Locatelli. I mean, that backline was disastrous for the Azzurri too, but that's a whole separate story. You can't have two midfielders playing good teams. We saw that against Madrid, against City in the Club World Cup. It doesn't hold up. And as soon as it breaks down in the middle of the pitch, that's where games are won and lost. It falls apart everywhere. You lose balance with your attackers. They're left to feed off scraps. And at the back, you're pretty much overwhelmed and swarmed. And I'll be quite honest with you, any combination of players that you put at the back will not hold it down. even with Bremer in there. It's not going to hold it down. So until he sorts out that middle and realizes that you just can't do that, you're flirting with disaster. It's going to be messy like that. It's going to be ugly like that. And we'll be picking on individuals the rest of the season until Tudor realizes that you're going to have to help them out, and you're going to have to put another man there, and you're going to have to figure out how to get balance, because every time we played a good side, I said the balance is just not there. You can't play your game. It's like we play these weaker sides, and the two-man pivot was great because you're controlling the ball. You're controlling the game. And then those extra attackers, that's great. You're figuring out how you're going to try and break them down. The second the game is contested and the ball is up for grabs, the two-man ain't cutting it. And that's where you just get pushed back and back and back. And it ain't going to work. So Tudor, he's got to sort it out. We saw the warning signs in that one. And then it was like trickle down effect with the next coming games. Once we get to them, I mean, the same warning signs started to really show up. And now the questions are out there on Tudor and if he's going to actually do what's required.
Right? I think definitely agree with that. I think some of the things Anthony and I have been saying since the beginning, Tudor's not our guy. He is for the moment. And the one prop I give him is that he's a great man manager. He's protective of his team. He's always supportive of his players. And that is a good coach on one end. Tactically, not there. I think the first issue in that game was, yes, we won. Yes, it was a lucky win at the end of the day because that strike could have easily been saved by a different keeper from Adzic, but I'm, again, happy for the result. One of those that I'll always remember. But to start the game with Koopmeiners and Vlahovic, that was the issue. Vlahovic has shown he cannot start anymore. He is not a starting player anymore. And I think we've seen that since maybe a year after we bought him, that it was not going to work out. He was our only option. That's what it had to be the past few seasons. We have three options now. If you want to say four with Milik, who we'll probably never see again, you can say that. But we had Jonathan David on the bench and Openda on the bench. Two guys who I would have loved to see at least one of them between the two start. I don't care who. But Vlahovic starting is not how we should have gone into that game. He's shown off the bench, super sub, amazing. I think that's what as fans are kind of accepting now, and honestly kind of grateful for, because that prowess off the bench is honestly amazing to see. But to start that game with Vlahovic was the first issue. Koopmeiners, I don't even need to say much. I think we know he is not working out here, and he's, if anything, Tudor is buying him time, because every time Koopmeiner steps on the pitch, it's a disaster. He's lost. It's just he doesn't fit, and I think either that comes down to confidence level, or it's just at the end of the day he's not meant for this team. And that, if that's the case, we need to ship him off and find somebody who is. But starting that game with two guys who just, one doesn't fit starting wise and one that doesn't fit in general was my issue with Tudor. And I totally agree with both of you guys with Tudor that it's just tactically it's not there. I kind of want to just quickly transition. If you guys want to respond, feel free. Really quick.
I do want to talk about the Vlahovic thing. I think that's
point. Go ahead, Anthony.
One of the things I was talking about with my brother is I don't know why they would start him against Acerbi, especially. Acerbi's great against strong forwards. You got two little fast guys that Acerbi would really struggle against. So, yeah, that's another point with starting Vlahovic. Not only has he been better off the bench, pissed off Vlahovic, as a sub is good, but he also had to go against Acerbi, and that's his specialty. So they definitely should have done something different there. And then, I have no idea why Koopmeiners is even called upon. I was really pissed off when we signed him. What was it, last year? I didn't. He looks like an extremely unathletic person to me. Don't know why we paid that much money for him or signed him at all, but he's pretty much living up to my expectations. And always a regista, always says he's fine in every single role. He hurts us least when he's in the spot that we put him at against Inter, and he's real bad when we put him in the central midfield. So I don't know why that guy keeps getting called up.
Yeah, Berto.
The Vlahovic thing, I don't know. Like I was just sitting there in the buildup and everybody's saying, you got to start him. He's red hot. And I'm like, no, you don't. It just makes no sense. I go, the situations are what we need to focus on. And when he's coming in and he's bagging those goals, a couple of them tap-ins and a free header from 6-yard box, I'm like, we're running at defenses. The space is there. It's a completely different game. You're playing Inter right off the hop. He's not going to have space. It's going to be this. People are acting like we haven't seen this guy for 3 years already. The hold-up play is the worst part of his game. Back to goal is just the worst part about him. So to start him off in that game is crazy when you have guys, especially in Jonathan David, that can assist in the build-up and link up play. It's a strange, bizarre call. And that's where you start to wonder if Tudor does have his pulse, like his finger on the pulse of games and moments and situations. With Cope Miners, he's down to like one last opportunity, because this is another thing. If you're going to play a two-man pivot, Locatelli absolutely has to be in it at Juve, period. If you're going to play a two-man pivot, any other combination you make makes absolutely zero sense. Three-man midfield, this is Cope Miners' last shot. And all you can hope for is to try and mimic what was working at Atalanta. And that's honestly make him a trailing man out of the midfield. Because when he gets further up there, he has no idea. He's getting into space where nobody can find him, and he's literally just not impacting or influencing anything. His best at Atalanta was the way they played with their width.
Power up fall projects with Ego at Lowe's. Every tool delivers power beyond belief. So whether it's leaves, limbs, or lawn cleanup, count on Ego to deliver the power, performance, and innovation you need. And now for a limited time, save up to $60 on select blowers, chainsaws, and pole saws. Shop Ego today at Lowe's. Offers valid through 10/1 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
They would get the ball in deep positions. They would find him making these runs. He's found himself in those scenarios less than a handful of times the entire period of time we've got him. And unfortunately, the odd times he has gone there, his shots have been ridiculously bad. Like that's one part of his game that was good at Atalanta. That tells me everything I need to know about where he's at mentally and where his confidence level is. This guy needs a full, like an exorcism almost, but he can't be forced. And that's the problem I'm starting to have is we're forcing it again. It was forced last year when he was getting a ton of minutes where he didn't deserve to be. And now I'm starting to see that trend again, and it has to stop. He's way down the pecking order for me, and he's got to fight his way back in because I don't even know anymore. But three-man midfield is his only shot. And what we've been doing already with him, it's not like it's a far cry. This is what bothers me about football sometimes now in this day and age where people are like, oh, you can't play this position. You can't play that position. You can't. It's like, man, at some point, it's not far off. If you're playing in the midfield and you're slightly more advanced or a little bit deeper, it's like you're still a midfielder. Like, what are we talking about here? I come from the days, and Anthony probably protests to this too. You come from the days where guys are playing everywhere. I mean, guys like Pesotto, guys like Delivio. It's like, just put them on the pitch. It doesn't matter. Winger, midfield, fullback, you get the job done.
Just play the damn game.
Yeah, and I'm sick and tired of this. Oh, no, he can't play slightly higher. He can't play. It's just, he's got to figure it out is what it comes down to. And maybe it is the classic case of the shirt being too heavy, and that's a damn shame, but he's running out of excuses. He doesn't really have any excuses for me, to be honest, but Tudor can't keep forcing it. He's got to work his way up. That's why it's got to be a Juve.
We have other. We don't need to force him. We got Berretti coming back. Ozich's been looking good, and McKennie's. I mean, he played well last year. I mean, he may not be the greatest thing ever, but I mean, he's always putting a hard shift. You can't fault him for it. At least he busts his ass out there.
If I'm going a three-man midfield right now, I'll be quite honest. I'm looking at these kids that offer something different. Like I'd have Thuram, Locatelli, and one of Adzic or Moretti as soon as he comes back to just mix it up. I don't know what your ideal three-man midfield is, but McKennie and Cope Miners would have to work their way in there. But that's my probably three-man midfield that I would go with. One of Adzic or Moretti to make up that third with Loca and Thuram.
Well, you know what Coop and Ozic, or what Coop and McKennie are. You have a chance to get something special out of Ozic or Moretti. Give him a shot.
Yeah.
It's not going to be worse. It's not like those are such great players that we're losing so much by putting them on the bench. Throw the kids in there and see what they can do.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think too, with Coop Miners, you're saying like he's run out of chances. Tudor's going out on a limb for him. Speaking about, give him time. What more time does he need? He's been here for a year and didn't do anything last year. And just because it's a new year for you doesn't mean things are going to change unless mentally he's changed or tactically it's changed. But nothing tactically has changed. Tudor, I would love to see a three-man midfield with this team. I'd love it. But Tudor can only do one thing, and that's it. We don't see any change. And it's like, okay, that's going to be our downfall. The two-man midfield has failed us multiple times. Sometimes we end up with a win. Sometimes we end up with a draw. And that's been lucky. That's lucky for Tudor. Other than that, like, I don't know what else there is to do. And I think what my other issue in that Inter game was, it was too damn late for substitutions. We should not have even gone into the 80th minute down a goal at least. But to have Coop Miners and Vlahovic in for that long, noticing what the issues were with Coop Miners being a ghost on the field and Vlahovic not being able to do anything, that's where one of my biggest issues with Tudor also lies in, is that the substitutions are too late and are going to cost us. And it almost did in the Dortmund game. But I kind of want to just... Any last second thoughts for you guys before we move on? I think I'm working myself up a bit about this.
I think that probably sums it up for the Inter match, to be quite honest. Touched on all the points. If I will say this, the positive, I mean, we got to talk about, there was a positive, is the fight. I'll give him that. He's got the guys fighting, and that's something that was hit and miss last year. It's still early on, so it's like honeymoon phase of this season. So I would at least expect it to be there for now, but I will give credit where credit's due. They didn't just put their heads down and pack their bags up, right? They fought. So credit to the squad for that. And credit to Adzic, the way he stepped on in the Derby d'Italia, because he showed composure. And the way he was on the ball was just, it was calm, cool, collected. And, say what you want about Sommer, who howler a bit there, but it still takes balls for him to shoot in that moment and whatnot. And I'll be quite honest, I need to see it more from the other guys too, to start shooting the damn ball from just outside the area there. We try to get way too cute with it. So I just want to give props to Adzic for, hey, having the wherewithal to say, I'm going to take a rip. So
he had some nice interceptions too. I mean, he was playing well.
Defensively in the box, deep, late in the game, he was doing great work, Adzic.
Got a couple of nice interceptions. It was nice.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think you summed it up the best, Berto. There was fight, and that's what at the end of the day we want to see from our players, because like you said, last year was on and off. We would see it, and by the end there was no fight left. So I think that's the biggest takeaway, is that there was fight. And to transition, we saw that fight continue in the Dortmund game. Juventus's opening account in the Champions League this season, arguably probably one of the greatest games ever in an opening day Champions League group stage. But Anthony, I want you to kick off the Dortmund Juve 4-4 game. Let's hear it.
Just put the defensive guru through misery. Always to start.
Similar performance against a worse team, and we got a worse result because we just weren't as motivated because we're not playing Inter. But man, what a disaster. I mean, Dortmund is not a good team. They're not a good team this year. Sorry. That should have been an easy win for us. And we really made a meal out of that one. And it carried over into the next match as well. But, I mean, there was one point where Lloyd Kelly jumps out. He does like a Spider-Man jump at somebody. And we did it on the Primo Calciocast. We broke that one down. I think we spent about 20 minutes trying to understand where he learned that technique. Because, I coach 10-year-olds, and I would never tell them to do that. So somewhere along the line, the Spider-Man defensive move was taught to him. It's a clown show in defense. It really is. It's the modern game. The one thing I'll always say is, as bad as our defense is, as bad as average as this team is, no one else is that good either. So, I mean, good thing Borussia's defense sucks as much as ours did. Because, I mean, if you look at our goals, it's like, guys behind their defenders are behind our forwards, and they're misreading balls in the air. whiffing on challenges. I mean, it's a clown show out there defensively in general. And our midfield, 10 times worse with Coop in there. Our midfield was defeated over and over and over again. Just guys, I mean, I played forward, midfield, and defense. The worst feeling in the world in defense is when you have like 2 or 3 attackers just running at you, and you're no midfield wall in front of you, and you're just like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? And that was happening all game. It was that was actually much worse performance than the Inter match. But yeah, it was top to bottom, just to me a nightmare. Once again, I'm glad we came back in the end. And one of the things I said with this Juve team, I just want to see us at least fight our asses off. We're doing it at the end of the games, but holy crap, winning these little battles. And the first half was a disaster for both teams, but when the second half started, we're losing little battles for the ball. We're losing out on hustle. And then all of a sudden, when the game goes to shit, then we're like, oh, maybe we should start playing now. Okay, I appreciate that at least. But let's take care of business against teams that we should be taking care of business against.
Definitely. Berto?
Yeah, that Dortmund game, man. Just weird. So strange. Like the first half, 0-0. Neither team doing anything whatsoever. And you're thinking, geez, this could be a 1-goal game. And then you end up at 4s. It's like, what the heck is going on? What am I watching? The second half, wide open. And it's like, again, the biggest thing that Tudor preaches is balance, but we haven't found it. Like we don't have it. It's like we have the ability to hurt teams in the attack. But if you have to lose everything structurally to do it, you kind of don't have that ability because the good teams find a way to do everything in a controlled manner. So it like just no bout. The midfield got blown up, and Kelly, you go from one, match, scores against the Inter, actually puts in a good performance against the Inter. And then this one, I don't like him on a few of those goals. I think you just can't let Adeyemi go. You're contesting a bit. He gets half a step on you, and then it's like he just stood there and he cuts across, and it's like you can't just bank on that next defender stepping in there because he's got duties and responsibilities too. So I hated that. The shot short side after a brutal Thuram giveaway, I didn't like that one. I'll give Di Gregorio the benefit of the doubt on the Nemecha shot that gets through a maze and then short side, but it's just ugly all around. And then Kelly, I mean, I think he's hard done by for that PK, but still an awkward way to go down to block that. And again, a little bit too soft and drop back too deep. It was ugly. It was ugly. We come away at 4s, and then Kelly scores that 4th to equalize it. And it's like, it makes a lot of people forget what just happened at the back there. But I really still have a hard time going too hard on these guys at the back when our midfield is non-existent. And Thuram, a lot of people called it out for what it was. It was one of his weaker performances for Juve, but he was alone. 2-man pivot with Cope Miners. Cope wasn't even existent. It was literally Thuram all alone. And if there's one thing I'll give Borussia Dortmund credit for is that they run their bags off. They're quick about it, and they are not scared to pressure teams. Funny enough, we ran into that same issue with all the teams that played us like that, like Stuttgart, when we should have walked away with a victory last year in Champions League. You're not even close in that game, despite the scoreline, because teams that run us, we can't get it done. And that 2-man pivot might be time to scratch it. And that was another sign in this game. You walk away 4-4. Again, good showing. Vlahovic, again, off the bench. Zhigrova looked good. And he looks like a player we got to hope stays fit. So the positives, again, you got players that can do damage. It still, for me, comes down to Igor Tudor. Is he going to do right by this group and find that balance? Biggest takeaway from that one, man. Balance.
Absolutely. I mean, you guys nailed it. That game, that first half, a horrid watch. Just one of those where is anything going to happen, really? It was just essentially just two teams just passing it around. Yeah, it was a bad watch. Second half, obviously, lit up. It was one of those where that Adeyemi goal, I was like, oh, so we're doing this shit again, where Çalhanoğlu can score from outside the box. So we're going to let any team score outside the box, right? We just can't close in. And again, Di Gregorio, I'll give some grace because without him last year, we are not in a top 4 position. Club World Cup, he saved us on countless times against Madrid, let alone other teams. So I'll give him a benefit of the doubt, but that was his worst performance in the Juve shirt by far. And I think you can say that about Thuram too. That giveaway was very disappointing. I'm somebody who I think Thuram is one of my top 3 favorite players on this team. So I like to give him some props, but that was a dysfunctional game from him. And I'll touch on this later because it's definitely a factor in the Verona game. But I think the fatigue is building up, and that's where I think this issue is coming in. We are 5-6 games into the season, and these guys are going to be breaking down. And I think that's kind of going to be the theme of this season for us, especially coming from the Club World Cup. And I want to give them grace and all that, but at the end of the day, like, this is your job. You got these games coming up. There needs to be better conditioning then on that.
I hate the tired excuse, man. It's
These are
September.
professional athletes, dude. Come on. I could play 3 games a week with a cigarette in my mouth. Come on, get out there.
I hate the tired excuse, man. It's September. I mean, and also, like, what are we doing? If you know you're going to go with certain guys, you alter your training methods. Like, you in the buildup, you anticipate that. You got to help them out too. But I have a real tough time with the fatigue stuff, especially if we're talking about young guys. Like, if we're talking about the 20-year-olds on the team and stuff, and we're talking about fatigue, like 5 games into a season, I got a problem with it, man. Even if it's 3 games in 7 days, like, you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out, man. A 40-year-old Ronaldo, will play 3 games in 7 days. And we're worried about Thuram or Yildiz, and these guys need rep. What? No.
Totally agree. Yeah.
I can't get down with that, with the fatigue thing, man. It's part of the gig. You want to be a baller. You want to be on a big club. Like, we got to stop making excuses, essentially. And, it's got to be better. I have a major issue with consistency on these guys, man. Cambiasso is another one. He's pissing me off. I'll be quite honest.
The city rumors are like stuck in his head. I don't know. The thing is, that first game of the season, I was like, okay, Cambiasso's back. He's going to have a good season with us. Gets a red. It's like, okay, so maybe he hasn't fixed up what's happening. But what we saw from him these past couple is truly just, it's not the same player that we thought we were getting and seeing him grow into. So I agree. He's not on thin ice. I think he's got plenty of time to maybe make up for it, but it's very disappointing at the moment what we're getting from him.
Big time. These guys got to deliver, man. It's as simple as that. I mean, Tudor's got some shortcomings that obviously he needs to be better with, but the guys that are getting the minutes have to find consistency in their game. And I love Thuram. I'm with you. One of my favorites on the team. So is Cambiasso, but these main streamers and these clout chasers are just like best fullback in the world. And I'm like, pump the brakes. Like, he can be, but he's got absolutely zero consistency. So it's like, on his day, absolutely you could consider that. But he steps into games sometimes and he's gone. And then when you factor in the tire fatigue, I'm like, this guy just served a 2-match ban. He didn't even play, and then he was invisible when he came on for us. And it's just like, that's not acceptable. It's pissed me off since halfway through last season when that City thing came on, and then his agent wants to come out and say, ask Juve why the deal didn't go through. You got the nerve and the audacity to say that. Cambiasso doesn't step in, whatever. Hey, you better put up or shut up. Your agent wants to come out and talk like that. I need you to have some type of consistency, not just a blurb in a media headline. Oh, I've always wanted to stay at Juve. I never wanted to leave, whatever. Well, you should have told your agent to shut the hell up then, because you're here now. We need you. The consistency has to ramp up from these guys too on their own accord, right? Like, it's
who's holding them accountable?
Yeah,
who holds these guys accountable?
Yeah,
it's Twitter, right? I mean,
yeah, and you know what? It's these guaranteed minutes. It's these guaranteed minutes that can get teams into trouble. where it's just like, oh, there's nobody pressing me for my spot. And that kind of comes down to a depth thing and whatnot. But sometimes, and Allegri took a lot of shit from the fan base, a lot. And obviously I gave him a lot too. But I will say this, when a message needed to be sent, he'd do it even if it was risky in a game. Like, he would still do that to make a statement. If somebody did something wrong or somebody fucked up, like, he would actually do that. And Tudor, maybe because he walked into the certain circumstances last season, you know, you could be a friend for a bit, but now we need a coach. Now there has to be a shift.
It's hard to make that shift, man.
It can be. It can be, right? So
I agree. I think that's exactly what it is with Tudor. I think his focus is man management, which I don't fault him for that, because that's what we desperately needed last season. But when you lack the tactics, man managing only goes so far. Yeah. And so I think giving Coop Miners that chance in midfield in the Dortmund game when he did absolutely nothing and letting him play for as long as he did, I'm glad he didn't start Vlahovic, because it could have ended worse. And I think what we as fans see is Vlahovic is best off the bench, and that's what he delivered for us. Happy for that. Tudor, though, giving Cambiaso the time, it's just there needs to be accountability, and that's what we're missing. But the problem is who's holding Tudor accountable, because it would be embarrassing for management who said, no, this is our guy 5 games into the season, being like, all right, like, what are you going to do about this? So I feel we're at a bit of a stuck place, and I have a feeling we'll probably just ride this season out with Tudor regardless of results, because there really isn't anything out there that's going to make this team better in the short term. But I think there needs to be accountability on Tudor, because what happened in the Inter game transitioned to the Dortmund game, and now without even playing 10 games into a season, it's going to be a pattern. And again, the tired excuse is one thing, but if you have guys on the bench and you're not rotating them, the guys who are guaranteed the minutes by Tudor are going to be run thin, and then what? What's going to happen next?
Well, I think the competition for spots, as Berto was saying, is very important. And I think that's kind of what's motivated Vlahovic this year. It's not his spot. And you can see him, he's like, well, I better go get out there. I can't be a little bitch anymore. I got to go put the ball in the net. And he is. And, it is having a positive effect. I mean, you've all been on teams when you knew you're the better guy, and then you maybe start dogging it, and a good coach puts the other guy in. I mean, that's what needs to be happening right now. And it's still early in the season. There's time, there's time for that to happen. And we knew going into the season, this was a big question mark. There's a lot of bad coaches out there. There weren't a lot of options. And maybe it was best to stick with Tudor in that sense, rather than bring in some guy, because some random person's always better than the guy you got. Of course, just like the backup quarterback on football teams, backup keeper, that's always the best player on the team. But going forward here, he just needs to get his locker room sorted out. Play the guys that are in form. When now's a chance of a good game, play him. I want to see when Moretti comes back. He's going to step up. The problem with Cambiaso is you don't really have a guy that's going to take his spot. So he's going to, he can go dog, and he's going to play next week, unless they start throwing, McKennie out there or Kostic. That's not going to happen. So
not Kostic, but I would give McKennie a go if Cambiaso's dogging it.
Throw him out there.
Yeah, I would. I'd have no fear. I mean,
no one's that good that they deserve a starting spot no matter what. We don't have a single player like that.
It's like we can't have that fear. If you have that, because like I see it in the fan base. I see it in the fan base quite a bit where it's like, oh, we can't take him out of the lineup. We can't. Why not? You have to sometimes. You absolutely have to sometimes. And Vlahovic is a prime example of if we would have started the season with this guy and just let it run, it would have been a different story. He's got a chip on his shoulder, not just because he's not the guy, but he's also playing for a contract. Yeah. And he's trying to maximize what he's going to get next season. And that's good. That's fine. At least it's motivation. And at least it, like, whatever the ambition is, at least there's ambition there. But if you're constantly not hitting a standard, and that's the biggest thing with Juve, setting the standards. setting the tone. Like, you have to do that with everybody across the board. And that's why Colt Miners for me has been such a massive, massive symbol against that happening last year. And it's starting to carry over right now. And it's a stupid precedent to set, in my opinion. Like, get Adzic in there. When Moretti comes back, get him in there. Even McKennie shouldn't be lower on the pecking order than Colt Miners based on how things have started, in my personal opinion. Cambiaso, I would have no fear. I would play McKennie there just to get him like, hey, man, it's got to be better than that. Like, let's go. And Tudor, he's got question marks since we had him. Like, I'm not talking we got to get rid of this guy like tomorrow. No, we've got 10 points out of the first set of 4 matches in Serie A. It's a good pace to be at. We'll get into the Verona game, etc. But the signs of what we all question with Tudor is coming to light even this early on. And that's the adjustments. In-game management was always the biggest question mark around Tudor. And it's still going to follow him around the rest of his time at Juve, no matter how long that's going to be, is in-game management. It has to dial up a notch because we need him no matter what Juve's game plan is. We need to start hitting because the guys that are like, oh, go bring me, Zizou, go bring me like Pep, whatever. Guys, if we don't start getting things right, they're not going to want to walk into this. That's the reality. Like, they're not going to want to walk into this. So we need Tudor to like hit. It's in our best interest, no matter what the future holds, for him to hit and get this team competing at the levels we need. And that's battling for trophies. In Europe, obviously, you're going to have some slack there on the leash. But domestically, this should be a team that has the tools, in my opinion, to still fight for the title this season. I firmly believe that.
Agreed.
But a lot of it's going to be on him, more so than personnel for me. More so than personnel. A lot of it is going to be him and from a game-to-game situation. And I think this stretch early this season, 3 games in 7 days, it showed you everything that we need to hone in on to actually make that ambition a reality of battling for a Scudetto this year. It showed you everything we need to correct and fix. And for me, it's like probably 65 to 70% Tudor related.
Agreed. I want to do one last positive from the Dortmund game. Again, that was a rough game, but I think some of the positive takeaways is Vlahovic is perfect on the bench. Keep bringing him off the bench, and I think we'll have a good super sub in him for the rest of the season if that's where his permanent position is going to be. I think Lloyd Kelly, again, disastrous defending game, but another kind of cult hero moment to steal the draw from Dortmund when we absolutely had no business to draw that game. But I think the number one takeaway in his 10 minutes of playing was Zagrova. Like you said, Berto, I don't care if it's 10 minutes, 5 minutes, the impact he made was game-changing. He was the reason we scored the drawing goal was because he made the stop when a defender was coming, had the space, gave it to Vlahovic. Vlahovic crossed it in to Kelly, and boom, there was the game-tying goal. Zagrova was fantastic, and I think once again, it has to be careful to manage his health because he was coming off an entire year of just not playing. We saw what he did to us last season in the Champions League. We knew he was a hell of a player then. But I think managing him to be one of the main centers of this team, I think is the most important thing because it was genuinely a great showing from him and something that I'm just looking forward to now anytime he steps on the pitch.
My favorite signing we made, he's got to get in a little bit better shape. I think that was one of the announcements they said this week was he lost a couple pounds. But no, I think this is a very average team with very average talent on it. But I do think Zagrova is a unique character here with him and Yildiz. Yildiz is very direct, got a lot of energy. He's been our best player. Super excited about Yildiz. Very lucky that we have him on our squad. I know that John Elkin is soaking wet with excitement about how much plus Valenza he's going to bring in this next offseason. But Zagrova is the kind of player we needed. We need somebody who has actual technique, who can see the field, and he has actual class. That is someone I want to see more and more. And I think if Tudor isn't a complete idiot, I think him and Yildiz will be behind a striker. That's the standard going forward. But maybe Zagrova just got to get in better shape, whatever it is. But as soon as he's ready, if he's not starting every game, I'd be very surprised.
Yeah. Berto?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the guy, nobody ever questioned his ability or anything when the transfer rumor came up. It was literally his health, his status, because that pubalgia can be nasty, and he required surgery and whatnot. And sometimes it gives footballers issues even beyond that. He had problems with it in years previous to the last one where he wasn't in action since December. But if he stays fit, we're laughing because that actually would be a great price tag that you pick this talent up on. Good age, everything's there. It's just going to come down to that fitness. But if the health is on our side, knock on wood, maybe Milik was the soul we had to surrender to get it good with everybody else, then we're okay. But I mean, man, you got to love that one too. Me personally, if it's Chico coming in against tired legs, or even vice versa, you start Chico a game and then Jagrova comes in against tired legs. I love that. And it also gives you the ability to give Yildiz some rest when he needs, because you can deploy Jagrova, who's also played the left side of the pitch, or you can even play Chico there. So it's a good mix. I'm not worried about the attack. It's going to be how Tudor puts it all together, because there's going to be games. And I mean, if we're going to talk about Verona, you get into these moments, you get into these situations where it starts to feel like they give the players, these guys, the ball, and everybody stands and watches. And that's one of the things we can't have happen with these guys. The off the ball work is a nightmare for me when I watch Juve play. It's frustrating because it's like they only want to make moves if the ball's coming, but that's not going to be the play. Sometimes you got to drag those defenders with you. You got to create space for others. And when I watch this team play, and that Verona game was a perfect example, I hate when we just give the ball to these guys and we just pray. We just hope they make magic out of nothing, because that can't happen. You got talented players. You still got to put it all together, and you got to figure out a way that they can work in harmony, because the one thing about Jagrova stepping into that Dortmund game, and don't ask me why, because if you're a Borussia fan, you got to be livid with giving up a 2-goal lead at that stage in a Champions League game away from home. But wide open like that, those guys will torch, man. Chico, Jagrova, Yildiz, they'll destroy in wide open space like that. But these trickier games like the Verona, when the space is cut out, you got to put it all together. And I hated that about the Verona game. And my God, to have them look the stronger of the sides, simply just counterattacking and looking like they could score at will, that was a disgusting display. I hated that game. And we could say whatever we want about, the officials and the errors there, and rightfully so. It still shouldn't matter. I'm sorry. And third game in 7 days, it is what it is, man. If you want to have the ambitions and those expectations, that's a game you got to take charge of. And to see it, the reaction again, in keeping with Tudor, he went player for player on changes. When that game screamed out, stack your midfield, stop the transition, cut them off, he didn't do it. Does he not see it? Anybody watching that game, Stevie Wonder would have seen it. That's a concern. That's a red flag for Tudor. And I hated everything about that game. Hated it.
Same problem we had last year, though, when everyone was blaming Moda for that. I'm not Moda's fan by any means. I was very against him coming here, but they were blaming Moda for the lack of creativity and inability to break down teams like that. That is a talent issue. It's a lack of creativity. You need creativity in those moments. And yes, you do need to run off the ball. You need to work your ass off. You need to create opportunities. I think we saw a nice run from Case in that Southampton game. Was it a couple of days ago? That's you got to make the run, and that'll bring the pass. And if you sometimes have to start it by making those moves, and our guys aren't doing that. They're like waiting for the pass to even make the run. But you do need some creativity on your team to break down those low blocks.
And I think what you all are saying about the gravitational pull, like we've seen the Messi, Neymar, Suarez, one of the arguably greatest front three ever. They had the weight. Each one moving off the ball is dragging somebody. Why can't we do that? Why we have Yildiz, who's dangerous. We have Vlahovic, Openda, David, who are lethal goal scorers. We have somebody like Conceição and Zagrova who can just pull guys to the side, cut in. That is what we need to be playing to, our strengths of we have lethal scorers and creators. Pull the guys from the defense, pull the guys who are marking you. The gravitational weight plays much more of a factor than trying to set up the perfect goal, which is almost never going to happen. But I kind of want to go into the Verona game. Berto, you already started talking about it. It was a 1-1 draw. There was some scandals in it with the red card or with the penalty, and then missing the red card on Orban's elbow to Gatti's face, which we have in our team 3 guys who have done the exact same thing and get an immediate red card. It was definitely some BS, not seeing the card, and the penalty was definitely a bad call as well. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't have mattered. We should have left that game with 3 points. And I think my biggest takeaway that I saw from it was that of all the players that I didn't think I'd see it happen to was somebody like Thuram, who could not run to save his life at the end of the game because of the fatigue. Again, tiredness is no excuse, but it was affecting these guys the entire game. And there was just, again, it was another issue with Tudor with the subs and all that. At some point, we saw Openda on the left wing back role. It was all over the place, and we were getting battered. We were getting battered on the counterattacks. They were shooting way more than us, getting their shots up. Gift Orban, regardless if he should have been in the game or not, was torching us on the shots. He felt he could shoot from anywhere and had no worry. He had all the space in the world. So it was a very disappointing game. Berto, let's start with you since you already kind of got into the Verona game a bit.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's break down the performances. First off, has nothing to do with us, but the officiating, it's always shit in Italy. It's just, that's the way it is, period. Not a handball. Rocky came out and said both were errors. Orban should have got a red. That shouldn't have been a PK. So from an official standpoint, it's garbage. And all I'm going to say on that end is they got to stop getting the predominantly like Serie B officials reffing games that are critical to the top of the table. Anytime it doesn't have to be like Napoli and Juve playing to get a top official, but I think if any of the guys battling around the top should have the higher tiered officials, just period, because you can't have a situation like this. And the league needs so much work. I don't even think they understand these dinosaurs that are running this thing. But if you're going to have these guys going out there and then this happens and you have one of the coaches off one of the bigger teams in the league coming out and calling them out for it, and then your official designator comes out and says, yeah, he's right, we screwed up. Great. If it comes down to 2 points, what an awful look on them. So performance-wise for the officials, Serie A is so far off the mark. From our performance, oh my God, where do I start? Tudor. Let's start with Tudor again. Gatti should have never played in the heart of the 3-man backline. That had disaster written all over it from the get-go. You're going to have Kalulu and Gatti need to be separated, period. You got 2 guys that are both susceptible to mistakes at any given moment in time. That was asking for trouble. It didn't take long into that game to figure out we were getting blown up. So like you said, Thuram, he hits a phase where he's hit a wall. He can't move. He's gassed. But that's situational from that game because he's trying to cover so much because the midfield was blown up. Those 2 guys were getting tossed around. Like there was no coverage whatsoever. And while he should have gotten a red card, instead ends up with man of the match. But We still didn't have to make Orban look like Drogba, for God's sakes. Like, holy smokes, it was embarrassing. But for Tudor to not pick up on that again and just go player for player on changes, that was alarming again to see that there is no
lined up the defense.
There is no adjustment. I mean, here's the thing. In that game at half, I'm sitting there and I said immediately, shift it to a back four and put 3 midfielders in. Just stabilize. Rugani should enter. Gatti can be a second CB or take Kalulu, whichever, because they're both susceptible to mistakes, but Gatti didn't look good. So whatever, take your pick. I'm fine with either. And on your outsides, Cambiasso was a sleeper. He was doing nothing. I don't know if I get to the point where I take him out necessarily, but he wasn't having any impact whatsoever, just going through the motions. But we needed a 3-man mid for sure, and we needed to just stabilize. They were just countering at will, and player for player changed absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. The Locatelli out, Cope Miners in, changed nothing. Absolutely nothing. He's got to get a read on it. And it's funny, too, because in the entire buildup, preseason, everything, when Bremer stepped off, Rugani was the one to come in. And then to go into an actual match, it was almost arrogant of us to be like, oh, no, we'll just put Gatti in there. Gatti can't play the hard in the back three. You know this. I hated it. I hated that game for so many different reasons. Performances from guys, attitude, call it what you want, from some guys that should have been on fresh legs, energy levels. But Tudor, another one where I'm just left thinking, overall grand scheme of things, like we said, pace in the league is fine. But man, he's got to lock it in. We need more from him because we need him to hit. We know where the holes are, the gaps are in the roster, in the lineups from game to game, but he has to get it right. That's going to be massive for this team. Because while you have that group of fans that are like, well, 10 points, 4 games, that's cool. Yeah, it also could have been a lot less. You could be at 6 points through 4 games quite easily, just as easily as you're at 10. And while you're looking at 10 points, it's not bad, 4 games. It could fall off the rails like that, like tomorrow. We got a brutal schedule coming up. It's tricky. He has to hit. You can't have 3 games in a row where the same issues arise and you're not reacting and expect the fans to just be like, no, this is fine. This is cool. Because we got 10 points. No, it's not cool. You have to fix the deficiencies. It should never be good enough at Juve. That's the problem I have. That's why I'm maybe seen as negative at times, but it's like, no, I can accept the positives, but you got to accept it has to be better. Has to be better. We can't settle for this.
Definitely.
Right?
Anthony, I know for a fact you hated that game, so let's hear it.
Yeah, I think it's the same problem we saw start with Inter, got worse with Dortmund, and is now a theme when we can't beat pretty poor Verona side. They're not even as good as they were last year. So I'm on the side that says we should have 12 points because the points we dropped were against a shit team. And like Berto says, we got tougher schedule coming up. It doesn't get easier.
I just want to add really quick, too. Verona was missing 7 guys from injury. Yeah. Even worse, even putting that into context. But sorry, Anthony, go ahead.
No, that's fine. That's a great point. It should never have gotten that bad. When I looked at the starting lineup and I saw that back line, I saw 3 idiots. I said, this is such a bad Juventus team. What a shame. And I know Camoli had a big mess to clean up from last year. Giuntoli destroyed this team, did long-term damage. We know that. But man, we could have really used just one defender that isn't completely stupid. And it's true. We have Rugani. Put him on the damn field. He's okay at least. He's not dumb. He might be slow.
This past summer, I said it, I don't know how many times. I don't understand how you look at the roster and you don't feel you should be signing at least one solid defender. It made no sense to me. I'm like, you need to find a way. You need to find a way.
Well,
This
I don't know
banking,
who's a solid defender though. Who are we looking at? Bellardi or Bellardi?
well, you could have had Bellardi, you could have had Laporte, you could have had Leone, maybe. Like, you got to find a way to make a move for somebody. Like, there's options. And Laporte was cheap. Leone would have been probably more money for us, but you got to find a way at some point. Just this whole we're good at the back thing that went through the whole summer was like, are we? Based on what? Based on what? Like, then you get this one game, the first game. Bremer needs to rest. And you see Kelly, Gatti, and Kalulu on the team sheet, and you're thinking, this is terrorism. Like, that's terrifying. That's terrifying. I'm like, that is the stuff nightmares are made of when you look at that back three.
Especially that midfield in front of him. I think he did well to only concede once.
Yeah, I didn't get that this summer where they just felt status quo at the back. I was never feeling that. I was like, man, that's right up there for priority with like another striker. It's like
this is the Elk and Juventus, man. I mean, they're not trying to build a team. They're just taking advantage of market opportunities, balancing the books, and keeping their shareholders happy. And it just didn't have the right market opportunity to improve that defense. And they had coverage there, on paper.
Agreed. I think for me, what you guys didn't touch on, I mean, we talked about Cambiaso, but my biggest disappointments that game were our wing backs. Joao Mario was on the floor half the time, and Cambiaso was just there. He didn't add anything to it. And two guys who are kind of systems based around on the wings, or on the wing backs at least, going up and down, and were doing nothing. Cambiaso couldn't go to the ball when he was getting a pass to him. He couldn't pass to anybody. Joao Mario was on the floor half the time with no physicality. And the one thing that we saw in preseason that we actually were like, oh, Joao Mario actually might be a better fit for us than Alberto Costa was his ability to bring the ball forward and carry it and find those outlets. He couldn't do any of that, although he had the one opportunity where he was right in front of goal and then just all he had to do was shoot it. He thought he was going to be cute and stop the ball and pull it back and maybe be open, but no, you can't. It's Serie A. Defending is what we do. So it was just a very big disappointment from Joao Mario and Cambiaso on the wings. I think when we saw Coop Miners come in as a sub, we all knew he wasn't going to add much. And then Tudor was like, well, let's bring on Zagrova, Adzic, Openda, and David, and let's see what those guys can do. When at the end of the day, we had to put Lois Openda as wing back, somebody who should be, in my opinion, on the front line because he's the fastest person on the field. Why isn't he up there and just kind of saying, well, maybe somebody who's going to be on the, I get his thinking of having somebody quick on the wing, but we needed him kind of breaking a line if we wanted to win that game. So it was, again, came down to Tudor, another big disappointment. I'm with Anthony. We should be level on points with Napoli right now at the top of the table.
You can't break lines that are just aren't there. Like, I mean, you talk about the flanks, and like, I'll give credit there because Verona shut them down. They shut down those flanks. And then again, you look at our midfield, non-existent. There's nowhere else to go. Like, you needed to take what the opposition gives you. We moved so slow. That's another thing. Like, the movement, the actual ball movement was so slow. It made it so easy for Verona to move and shift laterally and just shut down those flanks. So you had to go through the middle, but you had a midfield that was outmanned the entire game. So there was nowhere to go. The odd sequences we did get up there deep enough. Again, it's just that who's going to pull the trigger? Who's going to take that step? Who's going to have that hit? There was a couple opportunities for our midfielders to have a go. They don't want to have a go. They're just like, it's like we were thinking we could just walk right up into the 6-yard box and tap one home. I don't get it. There's no back post opportunities. There's no trying to at least push that defense a little bit further back and trail. Like, it's just get it. We got it to like 23 yards out, and then everybody just froze. And it's like nobody wanted to do anything other than Yildiz. And that's just, it's just not good enough. The flanks, they were shut down. And Cambiaso, he's massive. I said, like, when he's actually on, He's the guy that moves away from the flank, right? And then he finds those pockets, those little areas that can be the difference, open up, and then asks another defender to come forward. Then it gives Yildiz room. It'll give David room, etc. But when he's stagnant, it hurts, man, because the other guys don't really do it. And Joao Mario, that's not really his game, but he's got to find a way to do that as well. If we want to stay on the flanks, play slow from side to side, you're going to get nowhere against these sides. Because it's
same problem we had last year. Same problem.
Exactly. Same problem. They shut down those flanks, and then you got nothing through the middle. No alternatives. It's got to change. That's why you might need a dynamic guy like a Nadzic, like a Miretti to play with two other midfielders so that these guys can actually beat a man and open something up for you. Because if you just want to play man-to-man, face-to-face in there, you're going to just get stuck over and over and over. Somebody's got to give some type of dynamism to the midfield or you're done.
Yeah. I mean, Locatelli's a poor regista. He doesn't move the ball very well at all. And Thuram, it really isn't his role. He's good at, barreling forward, but he's not really like a class passer by any means. So, I mean, who does it fall on? It's Yildiz, or we got to get Zagrova more worked in this team. He's the one guy that we could really get the ball to that might be able to dictate some kind of offense. So we won't have to just barrel our center backs forward into the box and act like we just did a magic trick. The saving grace is Serie A is not that good. There's not a lot of good teams.
It's not pulling away from us, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're there. We can be there. I don't know if we'll take it to Napoli, but they could get distracted with their European bullshit.
Conte is not a European guy. He's a one competition man.
But we do have, we'll see about that. We do have Max Allegri looking pretty decent, getting Milan with one competition. Milan, I can't stand them with their team, but they're pretty talented and they got a great coach and they're going to be very focused. That could be a problem for us. So we got to get our shit together, and you got to build the foundation from your defense forward. I think all the problems start by getting that defensive structure, understanding that. And you can't just make players creative. That's not going to happen. As we saw last year, it was like, it was Moda's fault. Now it's Tudor's fault. Yeah, the players just aren't creative players. We didn't buy any of those guys. We do have, we did buy one. Zagrova. We need to see more from him. I think if he can't do it, then we have to do even more. Problem is, if you play a three-man midfield, where you know damn well Tudor's not going to go to a 4-3-3. So that takes out one of those attacking midfielders behind the striker. Now Zagrova's spot is taken up by Miretti or Odzic. So now where do you play him? Because you're not taking Yildiz off the field, and you got to have a striker out there. So now Zagrova's going to play right mid.
I'd go Christmas tree, man. I'd go 4-3-2-1.
I love it, but Tudor can't play anything.
No, I'm saying that's what I would do. Tudor, I doubt, would do it, but this team screams to me 4-3-2-1.
Yeah, that's a great formation.
Zagrova, Yildiz, David, they're all out there. Openda can rotate in the mix there. You got guys that can bomb at fullback. You don't need to play them both at the same time to try and maintain some structure. Yeah. One time it's João Mario, one time it's Cambiaso. You might get into games where you want to deploy both, but don't be scared to do it, right? And at center back, I mean, yeah, like Bremer and Gatti last year at the start, before Bremer's injury, we had like next to no shots allowed. Yeah. And they were actually good and solid together and pushing everybody up with pretty much the same team. I wouldn't be scared to go to this four-man back set at all. And Rugani's a great player to enter the mix. Because for me, I don't think Kalulu should be mixing it up at a center back role. Right center back is probably it. That's pushing it for me. But back four, he doesn't see center back. And back four, Lloyd Kelly doesn't see center back for me either.
But they can both play side back and the fullback positions in a back four. So they're not totally useless.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
and there will be games where Tudor can go to this three-man back set where you just know you're going to have control and you could still play that way, right? But I just think without an alternative that's a four-man back set and three mids, you're asking for trouble. And Verona was the first team that I don't consider a good team that overran us with a two-man pivot. And that's terrifying. That's the biggest problem I have with that game. Because with Inter, with Dortmund, you could probably still struggle, even with the three-man mid, but you should have done it anyways. With Verona, I thought you could still get away with a two-man pivot. Let's be honest. Wasn't the case. And that's a big warning sign. So hopefully he gets it right. Hopefully at least tries it, because I think if you're going to stick to this one-trick pony thing, he's got to maximize what he gets out of the group to make up for the shortcomings of certain individuals that might appear from time to time, and consistency issues with some of the key guys. Thuram, Cambiaso, like when you have guys like that are supposed to be pillars, spine of this group this season, and they're struggling with consistency. Locatelli struggling with consistency to start this year. You have to make it up by the group and his structure, his game plan. It's the one biggest thing that stands out from these past 3 games. 100%.
Couldn't agree more. I think that perfectly does sum up the 3 games. And I think with all of our worries and concerns, I mean, the next 3 games, Atalanta this weekend, next week, UCL back to against Villarreal, who we last saw in Europa League, and then Milan next weekend. So 3 huge games, and there needs to be changes. And if Tudor is stuck and rigid in his system, it's going to be a quick downfall, unfortunately, if that's what it's going to be for the rest of the season. If all he's doing is saying, maybe this player will actually do something, and not, oh, maybe my system needs to change. No, maybe this player can help us. Maybe giving the ball to Yildiz, who at this point we're going to happen to run through the ground because he's going to get injured at some point because of all the time he's playing, and we're relying on a 20-year-old to carry this team. And I love Yildiz. He is the pillar of this team. He's the star of this team, but he's 20 years old. We have other players who are just as capable to produce magic like he is. So there needs to be less reliant on star power and players to bail you out. And there needs to be a better system that, unfortunately, I'm not sure if we're going to get there. But I do want to touch very quickly on the Atalanta game. We don't have to go into it too much. Just based on the table right now, like we said, Juventus in second on 10 points, Atalanta in 5th place with 8 points. Let's go with you, Anthony. What do you want to see, and what are your predictions for the game?
Well, do we have a player that has that could carry the torch other than Yildiz? I mean,
Zagrova. I 100% believe in Zagrova.
Yeah, that's got to be it. I mean, the rest of the team, they can't do it. We've seen that last year. What do I want to see out of the Atalanta game? I want to see our midfield completely transcend themselves and become actually talented, good players. Because against a team like Atalanta that runs a similar formation, we should be totally fine. So I want to see them not get owned. But Locatelli is very slow, and Thuram doesn't know where to stand. And I want to see maybe Rugani out there, or some kind of shift in our defensive personnel choices to show that Tudor is trying things out, new ideas. But mostly I want to see what I've been asking for all season. I want to see hustle to the ball. I want to see us getting there first. I want to see guys who want to win. I want to see Cambiaso not, with his head out of his ass. These kinds of things are what I want to see. But it's just the same as last year. Average players are inconsistent. That's really the difference between an average player and a player with class. Everyone can have a good game. You or I could have a good game once in a while. The great ones do it week in and week out, truly. And that's the definition of it to me. So I want to see, I want to see some of these players that we think are better than they really are, show it to us.
Berto, same thing with you. What do you want to see, and predictions for the game?
Juric sides are a pain in the ass to play. Physical, they're going to run hard, and it's one of the things that we just saw against Verona. Luckily, we've got a week off, so I definitely don't want to hear about fatigue. Okay, so definitely don't want to hear about that, but I got to see the midfield stack to counter it. I need to see energy off the gate, and I want to see us not play with any type of fear. We should not be backing up to Atalanta. No disrespect to them or discredit, but we should be taking the game to them. So 50-50s, I want to see us winning those. I want to see us match them physically and from the energy perspective. And it's again, Yildiz, there's no surprise element anymore. And teams are going to start to hone in on it. And now it's up to the other guys to step up, because he's going to start getting, and this will probably be the first game, it's going to be constant triple teams, double teams for sure. And then you'll get that extra triple that'll come in. The thing that's crazy about Yildiz is he still finds a way to keep that ball, retain it, and get it to the next guy. It's going to be up to those other guys. Juric is going to have a plan for him, right? Chico's most likely going to start this game. He's going to be a guy looked upon. Thuram, his influence, his actual impact on games needs to ramp up. I think he's got everything in the tool bag to be a phenomenal player. Consistency is the difference. I 100% agree with Anthony. So I need these guys to step up. Cambiaso 1000% has to step up. Yildiz is going to be closed down big time by Juric. And they're going to play hard, physical, and everybody else needs to step up. So hopefully Tudor, from a lineup perspective, you've got enough evidence now to know what you should go with. Whether he makes that big change in the middle of the park, I don't know. Today I heard he did try out 4-3-2-1. But
Hope so.
will he go with it? Will he go with it in a game when it counts, when it matters? Because we've seen this time and time again where coaches will try things in training sessions, but when it comes down to it, they go back to what feels safe. Safe being key. I need us to stop being so safe. If we go safe in this game, it could be another banana peel. And that's what worries me. Don't be safe. Get after it.
I agree. Definitely agree. I'm not even going to add to it because both of you said my exact thoughts. My biggest worry is that Tudor is not like, oh, Coop Miners, play against your former team. Maybe this will wake you up. That's my biggest worry. That's my biggest worry going into the game. I'm hoping we see a real team with all the players deserving to be out there and actually making an impact. But we'll see. I mean, it's the first game of a big 3-game stretch. So it depends on Tudor how he's going to manage it. If he cares more about this game versus the Champions League game, or if he's prioritizing the Milan game, who knows with this guy. But we'll see.
Prioritize every game.
All of them. All of them.
One game at a time, baby.
I agree, but our players right now are. I know they got a week off, but I'm worried about the fatigue with them because it's happened in the Verona game. So I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens with these coming games, just to see where our players are at and injury wise and everything. But Berto, I really appreciate you coming on. It's been such a pleasure having you.
It's been awesome. Thanks for having me.
Hopefully this is not the last one we get you on for. And as always, Anthony, you and I, we got this thing going. But again, really appreciate it. And looking forward to this weekend. Hopefully, actually, let's just go really quick. Quick prediction. Anthony, we'll start with you. What is your thoughts? End the game, what the goals are going to be?
2-1 Juve.
Berto?
I feel like it's going to be 2-2. But
they're going to run the 2-7-2.
Juric getting sacked, Mota coming in. They're running 2-7-2. Man, I have a feeling it's going to end in a draw. But I like Anthony's prediction, so let's go 2-1 Juve.
I think I'm going to be on the draw side, 1-1, 2-2, whatever. I think if at any rate we're allowing in the goals, we somehow happen to match them. So I could see it being 1-1. I could see it being 3-3. I could see it being 5-5. Who knows?
We're at home, sold out crowd. Let's give the Curva the benefit of doubt for that extra goal.
We'll get this one. They've been getting a lot of shit for a couple weeks. So they get motivated by what the fans think. These are young kids that turn their phones around and take pictures of themselves. They care very much what a bunch of people they don't even know think. So they're going to play well once they start getting some shit on the Instagram.
Yeah. Well, Well, that perfectly wraps up this episode, Berto. Thank you again. And until the next episode, we'll see you. Thanks for tuning in.